Flosstube. My name is Alyssa Jones and welcome to my channel that is primarily about cross stitch. Today is Flosstube number 26 or 27. Probably should look that up. And it is October 30th. It's the Sunday before Halloween. Tomorrow Halloween will be celebrated at school all day, so it will be a crazy day. For those of you new, and there are many new subscribers, thank you so much. And thank you, Darcy, for shouting me out. If you watched Stitchman Darcy's latest video, he did a very, very kind shout out, so thank you for that. And so for those of you watching, currently I teach kindergartners through second graders. I help them with their reading, and one of my hairs is tickling me. And it's a new position for me and I'm loving it. And as an update for you, I also just last week finally got to start the after school enrichment program at school, and I am teaching cross stitch this year. And I got really nervous about it before the first day, but then the kids were so excited. My first group is second graders and they're just delightful children. I'm really excited to learn to do it, and I'm working with them on like plastic grid with just full chunks of DMC, and they're doing great. What I've learned though so far is that this isn't easy for them to do, and I have to work with small groups, so that limits the amount of time because I can't split myself 8 different ways. I max out around 3 to help them with each thread and each stitch, and they check to make sure they're putting the needle in the right spot, and it requires a lot of my attention. I had fantasized that during after school enrichment I would get to work on my stitching and they would stitch and it would just be this happy stitch time, but it doesn't really quite work that way for me. Mostly I'm helping them with their stitching and monitoring what else they're doing when they're not stitching. But it's worked out. I have 3 centers in the afternoon, and one of the centers they come to is my table to stitch, and then they've been reading books or either designing their own cross stitch using graph paper or drawing or just doing some nice board game play. I am trying to have kind of a lighter technology afternoon for them because I feel like many kids leave school and go home and they're on a device, and so I'm trying to give them some tablet free time and just let them be kids. And if dramatic play breaks out, that's fine with me because I think that's what they probably really need. And any time spent with a good book is good time too. So they're either stitching, reading, or playing. I had one of my students get so excited about it, he got his mom to already buy him a kit for at home. And then he also decided, like, he has these visions of the cross stitch patterns he's going to design when he gets older. So hopefully this 7-year-old dream comes to fruition for him, and then we'll all be stitching one of my own students' designs. Wouldn't that be great? So we'll see how it goes. But so far the first 3 days were great. They just aren't making huge jumps of progress. In 20 minutes, they are able to stitch about 5 or 6 stitches. And I only get them 6 afternoons before the groups rotate, and they're not going to get far. So I did download PC Stitch onto my laptop yesterday, and I'm going to play around with maybe designing just like some little dinky tiny patterns, just so that my next group maybe feels like more successful with a finish. Like maybe just like a little tiny butterfly or something holiday related. I don't know. Just something little. So maybe like 7 by 7 stitches will be my space that I try to work within to make it look like something, and then they could just turn it into, well, I told my kids this time that it could be like an ornament, or it could be a toy or a necklace, and they were all excited about anything they made. So I just feel bad because like one of my students, he was like, oh, look at how much I've made so much progress, and he literally has like half of the outline of the gingerbread head. I only have 3 more afternoons with him. So hopefully we find some time to finish these, and it might just be easier if they select from even smaller patterns. What's been really helpful is that my friend Judith, you can find her on Instagram as the Stitching Librarian, she set up a Google Doc for me to share with Mary Beasley, who's also doing a little bit of teaching cross stitch with kids. And it's of all small free pattern websites that you can go to. So that's been great. And my thought is if I am able to successfully design any of these patterns, I will just add them to that Google Doc that Judith started so that Mary can have access to them as well. And then Judith also sent me like such a great bit of stitchy kindness. She sent me some floss that she said was from kits that she couldn't use. And so it was just a big handful of floss, and that is at school in the basket because I let my kids first pick their pattern they wanted to stitch, and then they got to choose their colors they wanted to use. And I kitted it all up kind of on floss cards for them so that everybody's stuff was separate and they didn't have to go back into the basket, because I don't want the basket of floss to just become like the inside of one of my project bags. So that's where we're at. But she also sent me a lovely card, which was just so sweet. And this lovely kit by Dimensions that has a printed fabric and all the floss in it, which I think that might be really appropriate for older students that I work with. So that'll be in a month or two, probably 4th or 5th graders. And then she sent me this Busilla kit that comes with the floss, and I want to guess that this is a printed Aida too. No, it's not. It's counted. But it says it's 5 inches by 5 inches, and that's adorable. So that might be a great project to have available for a 5th grader. And then this, like, just felt like such a treat, and I doubt I'll be able to share it with the children. But she sent me a Mill Hill kit of a yellow swallowtail with the beads and the 2 needles and the thread and even magnets for this one. So that was a super nice little bundle of gifts. So much treasure. So thank you again, Judith. And be sure to follow Judith on Instagram because she's always reading and she's been finishing some really great stitching projects. And her finishes I have been finding very, very inspiring. I'm going to pause for just a second. Okay, sorry. I had a grocery delivery I had to take care of because there were some perishable items that needed to go in the refrigerator. So, I think I'm all caught up on my after school. And I think I was in the middle of telling you to check out Judith's Instagram because she has some great finishes. And seeing her finishes, and I've also been watching quite a bit of Flosstube, and seeing the variety of projects everyone's working on has me like wanting to work on everything and also finish up a lot of what I have started. But the only finish I really have on hand from the past 3 weeks is this book, which is The It Girl by Ruth Ware. And I really enjoyed this book. I think one of my favorite parts was imagining the setting, which was at Oxford University, and it was pretty good. If you like a little bit of a murder mystery with, you know, a nice twist or two, it was a good one. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. And since then, I've worked on some whips. This is my cryptid stitch along. And I have it out because of WhipGo, and my goal was 5 hours on it, and I was about to start Frogman last time you saw this, and I've spent at least 4, I don't like always just stop at 1 hour when I work on it, but I have at least 4 hours on it, and I need to put 1 more in to finish my WhipGo goal. WhipGo, if you're not sure, is it's started by Jessie Murray. Go see Jessie Murray. She'll help you out. Jessie Murray does stuff on YouTube and Instagram. So since last time I showed this, I finished Frogman and started the Jackalope. And my plan is on my next stitching session to finish the Jackalope, and then I'm going to come up here and start the cryptids across the top here and start pulling the border down. And then I can do the bottom border at the very end and make sure it meets up. I was going to try stitching it all the way across, and then I realized I didn't want to count that much. But I am really happy with how this one's coming along. That Jackalope is so cute. It's possibly like in my top 3 cryptids on this. I also really love the Loch Ness Monster and the Yeti. But the Jackalope, all I've gotten done so far is his little butt and his front leg. But it's coming along nicely. This is stitched on 32 count Shall Not Pass by Fortnite Fabrics. And I'm enjoying the linen. I think it looks pretty good together. I love seeing everyone Supernatural Sals by the Witchy Stitcher as well. They look great. I just am nowhere near done with that one, so I didn't start a new one. Another project I spent a little bit of time on was the Haunted Library Stitch Along by Lola Crow Cross Stitch. And I worked on it a little bit. I'm going to work on it more today, is my decision. I'm probably going to watch some American football and try to get the Headless Horseman and the Jack-o'-lantern finished today. I'll probably try to do like an hour on my cryptids today, finish that section, and also prep for my week because I need to do some food prep and I need to put clothes away, which is not my favorite thing. But once it's done, I can move on. So if I can get the Headless Horseman done, I'll come over here and start this one. You can see if I have thread still on the needle, I'll come over and finish it out wherever I can reach. So I've got the little clown head started and, you know, a little bit more done than just this block, but it's only just finishing threads. This has been the majority of the time. I think I only got to pull it out one time because my week involved so little stitching time. By the time I go to school all day, so I leave my house before 7 every morning. I get home now after 5 every day because of after school. And then I still have to work out. And I've been pushing myself to get 12,000 steps in a day. And so I usually just read on the treadmill to get those steps. But by the time I prep for the next day and sit down, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And making it awake until 9 o'clock is not a given anymore. Like Friday night, I was asleep by 8:30. It's just pathetic. And because of that, meeting my goal on the Autumn Love sampler by Lori Holt, which is, I think it's Autumn Love Sal, hosted by That Quarter Shop. My goal has been 500 stitches a day, and that was near impossible this week. So I woke up yesterday morning, Saturday, with 1,400 stitches to do, and I did get them done. And this morning I put an easy 500 in, and so I'm happy with my progress, and I don't think it's going to take a whole lot longer to finish because all I have left is I have a little bit more of Autumn, the stars, which don't take any time at all, and these 5 boxes. So you'll see that house, however, that took some time. That was a big house. So let me open it up. This is stitched on 28 count whitewashed board by Fabric Flare. It's a printed one. It's the first Fabric Flare I've ever used, and I really enjoyed it. Probably would have been a good idea to serge the edges, but I didn't. But here's where I currently am. I think this one's quite lovely. I really enjoy the little basket of apples. It's also where I tend to ball up my fabric right now when I'm stitching, so it's the most wrinkled part. And so this morning I just stitched the autumn so far in this blue square, and that was 500 stitches. But the house, I worked on that house so much this week, and it just filled right in nicely. So it's way past the halfway point, almost 75% done. Stitch count wise, it might be because the house is so many stitches. So hopefully that finishes right up. I'm going away, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, with friends from work. It's a little girls' trip to one of the Finger Lakes in New York State. And I don't want to have like a huge number of stitches to think about while I'm on that trip. If I'm going to stitch on it, I just want it to be something very low key and relaxed, because I'll probably mostly be staring at water and chatting with my friends. So we'll see. The only other project I got to work on since I last filmed, which is 3 weeks, not even 3 weeks maybe, it's close, was an accidental new start. I didn't intend to start it. I was just upstairs looking at my projects, and then I was looking at what I had kitted and seeing how kitted things were, and then Pumpkin Thieves by Madame Chantilly, which I definitely have on a piece of 40 count, I don't know, 40 count something. I don't have the label in here, and it's probably stuck to the other side of the linen that I cut this from. But I just started stitching it. And that little tiny flag was right there. And it's not even done. Like, I wouldn't even sit down to start this new start. I knew I should be doing it. It was like I was doing the exact wrong thing. I was sneaking it in, but there it is. A tiny start on Pumpkin Thieves, which isn't a tiny project either. That balloon on this is equivalent to that house on Autumn Love. Oh, it's so great with the skull and cat skull and crossbones. It's pretty tough. My cat Peanut, who is taking a nap right there, she got in a cat fight this week again. She did it once this summer, and then she did it again this week. She is way too old to be getting in these cat fights, but she comes back acting like she is the toughest thing in the world. And like, I probably should go down and look for a carcass in her eyes, but she's declawed and 17 years old, and she's just out there fighting. It's terrible. So looking ahead, I'm going to finish Autumn Love. These are my lofty goals, by the way. I want to finish Autumn Love. I want to work on a larger variety of whips in November. And I also want to take part in the Black Sampler in November that Jacob is hosting of Modern Folk Embroidery. And for that, I watched his video this morning while I was stitching Autumn Love. And, you know, he reminded everyone that black is, you know, open to interpretation. And a lot of times in the olden days, it wasn't a true black. It was like a brown black or a gray. And so I have this year's Modern Folk Embroidery 2022 Stitch Along Mystery Sampler started, as you've seen before, and I have not worked on it. So I'm using DMC 645, which is this dark gray color. I mean, it's not nowhere near black, but it's a gray. And then instead of starting something new, even though I really love his brand new cat sampler, instead of starting something new, I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to get this top row done so that it's less of a frustration project. Because it's right where it was last time, on its 40 count ballet slippers by Fox and Rabbit. I'm going to work on that, and instead of having a 500 stitch goal, I think I'm going to go smaller. I might go with like a 100 to 200 range, or maybe even like an hour. Nothing like the 500 though, because first of all, if I'm trying to make that many stitches in a day on this, you know I'm going to make another giant mistake, and it's just going to end up in timeout again. And if I keep it smaller, I'll still get to work on a variety of whips, because I can work on it for a bit and put it away and work on something else. And that's probably going to be a lot of my whip go board, because that's how I'm earning myself some money for Stitch North in April. And I've started thinking about whether or not I'm going to keep working on that board for 2023, because it won't be done. But also thinking that, do I keep that board going in 2023 and start a new whip go board for 2023 with totally different projects on it? So I'm really working on my whips. I don't know the answer to that, but those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about. And I also got commissioned by a friend. She asked me to make an ornament as a gift that she's giving away this year, so I have to get on that. I know exactly what pattern I'm using. I have to do a little font change on it because the wording, it's a month, and she'd like it to be a baby's name instead. So I have to just change that and stitch that up. It shouldn't be a very long stitch, but I don't know, when you're stitching for a gift like that, I feel like you want to do your best stitching. So I want to get that started so it's a low pressure. Maybe I'll get to show it by my next video, or at least have taken a picture of it. Maybe that might be helpful. Before I go today, I do want to shout out some Flosstubers that I've been watching a lot. I have managed on weekends to barely move, and that's when I've been watching Flosstube, and I've also had some quiet nights at home, and when no one's around, I typically just put Flosstube on. And so I've been watching some really delightful Flosstubers. I'm looking at my phone to see their names correctly because I don't want to mess it up. I finally started watching Rogue Mama Stitcher, like everyone else already is, so I'm caught up there. Very delightful, so many projects. And then Teeny Weeny Stitches came back, and she had an update video, which was great. And then she also did a Stitch With Me video that I put on Friday morning during my coffee because it's just music. And she's working on a whip that's one of my whips. And oh, was that inspiring? It made me want to get it out and work on it. So I think we need more Stitch With Me videos because I find those wonderful, especially with just like a soft, light music. I might try to start making some of those. And I mine would have the added bonus if I get the camera angle right to have like one of the 4 fluffy kitties join in as well, which, I mean, that's great television right there. Watching someone stitch and having kitties, right? I'd watch that all day. I also started watching, I don't want to say it wrong, I want to read it correctly. Lala D Stitches, and she has a really great variety of projects, and I love seeing just what she worked on, and she has a great way of making elaborate plans. I love elaborate plans. I never stick to my elaborate plans, but hearing other people's elaborate plans is as good as if you actually finish everything you say. You don't have to stick to them. You just have to say them, and I'm inspired. So definitely check out Lala D Stitches if you're not already. And who else really got me recently? I also got caught up with Belushi Stitches because she put out a new video. Joe, it's good to see you. Film more often for me. I love seeing your projects. So a lot of great Flosstube happening out there. When I finish this video and get it edited and uploading, I'm going to finish watching Nightmare Before Stitchmas new video, which I started, and she works on a lot of great things, and she has a lot of Halloween things that are perfect for watching this time of year. So that's my big plan. I hope to see you again in a couple weeks. I liked having a smaller time in between filming. It led to a much smaller, more manageable pile here on the floor, and it also got me stitching and kept me stitching, so it was great. I hope everyone's well. I hope you have a happy Halloween if you are celebrating, and a great start to your month of November. And I hope to see you in a couple weeks or so. Talk to you soon. Bye.